Hey, greetings. Thank you for joining me right now. This is Charles Bill of Mr. C, and this is just a very short teaching. I'm going to call it a special message that I'm going to bring to you right now, and it has to do with what's going on right now in our country. Enough of you have texted me and called me and asked me what is going on. Questions such as, is the rapture getting ready to take place? What's happening right now? Is the Antichrist on the scene? Is Bible prophecy taking place? Should we still be praying? What should we be praying for? What's the fate of our country? Is God still in control? Well, that's enough questions for you right now. Let me see if I can answer some of them right now, okay? Again, I'm going to address this right now with something that we're dealing with that we talk about in Ephesians. Again, this is not a real long sermon, a short teaching for you from me, okay? In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, I'm addressing the subject, the demons amongst us. What is it that we're actually fighting against right now? And I'm going to tell you, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. The Bible says that we fight not against flesh and blood, as it would appear, but we fight against principalities and powers of the darkness. Principalities in the Greek actually refers to governments, cities, entities that rule our land. And we fight against spiritual demons in high places. Let me tell you just a little bit briefly about demons. The devil, Lucifer, came against God in the heavens many years ago, and God overthrew him, kicked him out of heaven, him and 1/3 of the host of angels, and they are still fighting against God and God's purpose, okay? He fought against God. He visited Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, destroyed that relationship. He tries to destroy the workings of us so that God's trying to get as many of us into heaven, and the devil and the demons are trying to get as many of us into hell. That pretty much shows you the game plan of both teams, all right? Let me move on. We fight against principalities and powers of the darkness. I spoke in a few of my sermons just recently. One of them was out of Daniel chapter 10, when I explained to you that the prince of the kingdom of Persia had demons, had a demon spirit that was in charge, a demon general. I guess I could describe it that way in military terms. The demons he was in charge of the kingdom of Persia, and he fought against Daniel's prayers, and his job was to do all good and havoc against God's people and for diabolical reasons. There was also, in the book of Daniel chapter 10, a prince of the powers of the air, a demon spirit in charge of doing diabolical things to the prince of, he was the prince of Greece, of Grecia. And that was his mission from Lucifer and the devil himself. So again, what I'm trying to impart to you right now is the demons amongst us. What's happening in the world today? God has his fight for us to get to heaven in his ways, and the devil still fights against him. There are spirits that rule this world that cause people, that influences people. I'm going to explain that to you real quickly right now. There are demons that rule the air, rule the darkness, and they have influence over mankind, over governments. That's why it's very important as to who you put as the ruler of your land. A godly person or an ungodly person, you will suffer the consequences today. All right, so let me move on. There is a spirit of deception that is going across our land right now. A spirit of deception. It is a spirit, it is a demon, it's demonic powers that go out about and to deceive. The Bible describes Lucifer, Satan, as a liar and the father of all lies. And of course, the Bible describes God and Jesus, Christianity, as truth, okay? There's no truth in the demon. He's nothing but a liar, and he goes about to deceive. I preached a message not long ago, and it talked about this, and the title was Same Lie, Same Liar. Lucifer was the same liar that lied to Adam and Eve, and with the same lie, okay? And he does it today. So this personality never changed, and the author of the lies has never changed, which is Satan. All right, I'll move on right here. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, I want to read something to you real quickly. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it talks about a spirit of deceiveness, okay? A liar. I'm going to read verse 8. It says, "And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and they shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Verse 9, even him whose coming is after the workings of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Verse 10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And what he's saying right here is they love lies, they do not want the truth, they reject the truth. You can tell them anything you want, you can say anything about the election, whatever your mind is set. If you think they stole and cheated, that's what your mindset's gonna be. If you think that they did not, that's what your mindset's gonna be. We're gonna be deceived. Look at the media today. You don't know what to believe. You look at CNN, it says one thing, Fox News says another thing. I used to do writing, freelance writing and journalism, and I would always tell somebody, I said, well, what kind of story is it? It depends on which one I want to write, okay? So, that being said, I just read to you in 2 Thessalonians about the demons of the air, spirits of the darkness that would go about deceiving people, and that is what you see. I'm going to explain something to you finally right now. In 2 Chronicles chapter 18, in another one of my recent sermons, I told you about us listening in to a roundtable military discussion in heaven. That's right. It took place in 2 Chronicles chapter 18, and it talked about King Ahab. They was having a discussion in heaven, God and the angels, all the archangels, and they were discussing about the evil King Ahab. You see, what I'm trying to tell you is in heaven, what takes place on this earth with the president of our country, and no matter who it may be, mayors, rulers, and so forth, God has his eyes on what's going on, and particularly when it has to do with the nation of Israel and the covenant that God has, and the covenant that God has with the United States, and the covenant that we have with God. So let me move on. King Ahab was a very evil king, and God wanted him removed. God makes that decision. He wanted him removed. And to have him removed, he was a young king. Excuse me. But being a young king, he was going to be in power for a long time, and that's not what God wanted. So they had a discussion, and different angels came to the throne, and they said, we can do this, that, or the other. And one angel came to the throne and says, well, I know what we can do. We can send down a lying spirit that will convince his prophets that they can win the battle, and we have to convince the evil King Ahab to be there and to think that he's going to win the battle, but we need him on the battlegrounds and he will be killed in battle. And God says, that's what we're going to do. I like that battle plan. Wasn't it interesting to actually read in 2 Chronicles chapter 18, to read an actual war room in heaven discussing this thing? So, long story short, and I'm about to finish, the angel comes down. He gives he convinces the prophets of Ahab to tell him that the battle is an easy win and he could go on the battleground. So he does. He gets in his chariot. He goes in the midst of the battle. He kind of thought that he could smoke a cigar and drink a cocktail while watching the battle, okay? Very, very wrong. The tide turned. They lost the battle. He was destroyed and he was killed. And that plan of action took place between the spirits and the angels in heaven, just in the same respect that demons, when it says in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, he says we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of the darkness, rulers of this world. So what am I telling you? Christians, pray. God is in control. Everything that takes place, whether it seems good or bad, in your favor or against your favor, God is in control, and we fight against demon spirits of the air. Not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, rulers of the darkness. My message right now, my special message to you was the demons that are amongst us. So Christians, I want you to pray. I want you to keep the faith, and I want you to realize that no matter what, God is in control. I'll bring you a series of messages on these subjects every few days, and just to give you a couple of teaching. This is from my ministry road group that has asked me to address this subject. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to me on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and join the channel and make a comment. Appreciate it.